On Hustle and Grit. As you know, Hustle and Grit is a conversation with people and performers and high achievers who have walked their journey to get where they're at currently in their life. But we want to hear the backstop. We want to hear what were the struggles, what were the things that were the time they wanted to quit, and how they got over it to keep it moving. And hopefully something they'll say to you today will keep you moving and achieving your goal, because reality is you need hustle and grit to get to wherever you want to go in life. Today we have today is a phenomenal speaker person from Cleveland, Ohio. Go Ohio, OHIO. Katherine Miracle of Miracle Resources, and she is a speaker friend of mine, business mogul over there. Katherine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great because I'm with you, the famous Mark. I mean, hustle and grit, we got it going on today. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So as you know, Katherine, I don't do bios. So why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into our discussion about how you got to this moment.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Mark fan. As mentioned, I am a professional speaker, and there have been many times that I'm double booked, and I am telling you, I sent Mark to do one that I was supposed to do in Michigan. He rocked. I still hear from that client how great you are. You know, it's so nice to have a friend who I can call and say, look, here's my situation. I need some help. And, you know, Mark, you are just that guy. You know, you're the guy who you're going to deliver. And that to me is what hustle and grit is. And that's kind of the story that I want to share with all of you. My journey isn't an easy story. It's not all pretty sunshine and flowers. You know, when you start your own business and you really want to succeed and get the bigger clients, as you can see by my background, we work with a lot of corporate clients. And starting off and pulling together these three brands of Miracle Resources, you know, when you're new, there's a lot of people, they want to wait until you've been tested and tried. They don't really want to hire the new firm. So we started with marketing and public relations. That is our first brand. That's called MR. So MR is the marketing public relations. But guys, we get into public relations and marketing and we start working with these brands. And here's what we find. I don't care if you have the best logos, the best billboards, the best TV commercial. If you give crappy customer service, people aren't coming back. So we start in 2015, this strong brand plus team equals revenue national training program with 54 trainers. Mark's one of them across the country. We send them into corporations to work on training, because if your employees can't be brand ambassadors of your company, I don't care what kind of external marketing you do. You've got to have the internal the same as the external. So then we start the third brand, which is the Communication Concierge. I've been doing a lot of coaching for people who want to be professional speakers like me, but I also work with a lot of people who have speech impediment, or they have a huge anxiety and they have to give a presentation. And Mark, I want to let you know about one of those guys, CEO, who his blood pressure would literally drop when he would get up to give a speech. We have to work on mindset. We have to work on things, because if he can't get up and give the state of the company's speech, right, the board of directors is going to say, hey, is our CEO. So my client list is confidential, but you got to have grit, because people have to believe in you. And see, there you go. All these clients, they call me because they say, I know that you can help me. And they say it's a miracle, but guys, it's really not a miracle. I just listen and I observe, but I also want you to know the tough part of my story. I didn't always have this public speaking voice. I was scared to death to speak. I was a shy kid. I had what's called selective mutism. If you guys know what that is, that's the little kid, when you see them in the store and you say hi, they run to their parent. My mom had to work with me. She got me into theater. She had me do little activities. Guys, I was so scared as a kid, I wouldn't go up and get napkins. Like if we were at McDonald's, I wouldn't go up and get napkins. I wouldn't ask someone the time. And my mom worked with me just little by little, listened and observed. And I grew and I found my voice. And I love helping people find their voice. But it takes grit when you're scared. And so that's why, sorry about the phone call, clients call me and say, hey, I got to give a speech and I'm freaking out. And so I take those phone calls and I'll get right back to that person as soon as we're done, because I know what it's like to be scared to speak. I know what it's like to have a brand and be scared of marketing. That's why we have that PR marketing firm. And then, Mark, with the training, when you have a team that can't get along, you got to get somebody in there working with them, getting this team to produce. And Mark, you're great at that too. I mean, you have the athletics behind you and the corporate behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get people to work together. And it's really hard in this environment. Would you agree, Mark? It's
Oh,
tough times.
it's tough times. It is really challenging, like you said, dealing with people in anxieties or dealing with people trying to put their message together and lead and try to keep their team together. I've been exposed to some cultures of different programs and companies, and I'm just like shaking my head, like, wow, how are you even still open? If people really
Right.
knew, right? That's crazy. It's crazy. I'm glad that that you're in that space to deal with them. But Katherine, take us back to when you made the move to start your company, start this nationwide company of marketing. What were you doing before you made the move?
This is why you're such a great interviewer. Well, I got to tell you, I was a people pleaser. I am a reformed people pleaser, and I work with a lot of people on that because I was in a nonprofit career and I always wanted to start my own business, but I was pretty afraid to do that because I think it takes three things to be successful in business: contacts, courage, and confidence. And when I say confidence and courage, I mean courage to put your feet in the water and do it, but the confidence to project that. And so for me, I just really had a turning point where I said, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. And that was 17 years ago. So making this move, I knew when I went in that I would have about 3 clients. There were people who were asking me to do work for them. And so I said, okay, I'm going to start this business. Let's get started. So I knew I had 3 clients going in. So, I don't get the award for courage because I didn't, like, some people just jump and they have nothing. I knew I had 3 clients going in. So we start the marketing in the PR firm, and 90% of our clients are nonprofit. Well, guys, 2007, 2008 happened, and I'm here to tell you, oh my goodness, we switched very quickly. So 90% of our clients are corporations now, 10% are nonprofits. So we had an uneven balance, and we needed to fix that. And 2008, there were many people who went out of business, and I believe we didn't go out of business because we had what we call pivot, which we talk about so much these days. In unprecedented times, you've got to be flexible. You've got to be willing to work. You've got to be willing to try new things. And so for us, the marketing PR firm led into the training, which had to happen because the internal problems, like you said, Mark, the cultures, it's frightening. I believe, and especially I didn't say this earlier, as a woman, I wasn't always treated equal, but I'm smart enough to go to my male mentors and say, can you pick up the phone to this corporation and get me in? And we got in and we earned their trust, and then we got to work. But there was a hesitancy because I was 38 when I started the company. For corporate training, I was then on the younger side. I didn't have the established business. As a female, I found some doors closed, but I opened them through my male mentors. So I do believe that you need to go to the people and have grit. The people can help you and say, I need your help. You can't be afraid to ask for some help. You have to.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're talking about the pivot. What did you do back then? Because everybody would have been talking about pivot now. Everybody's pivoting to, you're a brewery, you're now making hand sanitizers and all that kind of stuff. What did you find the most challenging thing to pivot from what you're doing? Yeah, I know you talked about the imbalance to what you do now.
So part of your question, I want to make sure that I answer it. So if I didn't answer, I think there's part of it that got a little in technical difficulty. I didn't hear all of it. You were talking about the change during these unprecedented times, correct?
Correct. The pivot that your company went from to, what was the challenge?
So the big challenge, we were 50% on Zoom and virtual before March 10th. March 10th, we went to 100%. Everything virtual, trainings, I found 4 more hours in a workday. I didn't have to commute. I'm not flying right now. I'm doing trainings with people in Atlanta via Zoom. I'm on Teams. I'm using all these different formats. I use Ring Central. I use WebEx. I'm using probably 7 different platforms. So I'm able to take on more clients. and the trainers are able to take on more clients. But for us, the pivot really had to be, anything that was live, we had to make the change to move it over to Zooms. And then with the social revolution, we had always been teaching diversity. We had always been teaching unconscious bias and respectful communication. But it's so needed because people are exhausted. What's happening in our country with the social revolution, we have the ability at Miracle Resources to get in, do the training, and really help people understand we've got to treat each other with equality. We've got to come to the table respecting each other. Mm-hmm. We can't build teams that are successful without that respect. And some cultures and some companies, I agree with you, Mark, I think they're scary. And I think the pivot for us is being more accessible because we're using these technologies.
Yeah, that is a crucial part of everybody making the pivot to do. Again, when you talk about pivoting, you're talking about making a move into a space that you didn't know existed to survive, that not too far out of your wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? If you were switching your whole company format to something else, that's not, to me, not really a pivot. A pivot is when you modify just a little bit and you do something that you normally could do, but that wasn't what you started out doing. Does that make sense? So I get what you're doing from the whole 50% in-person thing. It affected me as well. I mean, there's a couple companies I contract with, 100% face-to-face interaction. They scrambled and went online. They weren't sure how it was going to work. And I did a couple of them. I just wasn't feeling it because they didn't have all the kinks worked out. But now it is the thing that you have to do. And now I'm doing, online. So I get the pivot. So now how did your clientele react to your pivot?
Reaction from the clients, they were just happy to have someone to talk to. But I want to say this, Mark, this is so important because I know this is you and this is me. We're both into building teams, and you're a great basketball player. So I should have remembered what you thought pivot was, because as a basketball player, it's a little different. There were so many times in March and April that clients would call, and I take my live calls like you saw earlier. Somebody gives me a call. I pick up the phone. And there were times I thought, Mark, they wanted advice from me or they wanted to, get my opinion. A lot of times they just wanted to vent. Work was just too much. We have clients who are hotels and banks and essential workers as well. Hospitals are a lot of Miracle Resources clients. And they just wanted to talk. They wanted to talk about what was going on with the team. And I wrote the book Inquisitive Culture, and I want you guys to know it's all about listening and observing in a deeper way. And I do think that if you're really true to your clients and your customers, you have to be okay with just letting them vent. I think that's what people really needed in March and April, was just to vent.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Listening to people go through this change. I know I got a little quiet on my end, wasn't sure what to say. People are looking at the motivator to motivate, and the motivator was like, I got nothing for you right now. And so I then made the move to go get my friends and have this, week-long summit and let everybody else talk, let everybody else have something to say, let them say it, because I didn't have nothing to say at that point. I needed to vent too. And so I think that's a great piece, that people don't listen to what people are saying with intent. We don't listen with intent. And sometimes you're right. They just want to vent and we can move on. And there may be a nugget or two in there for us to develop something out of. So that's also important. Let me ask you, as you pivoted, I know how
and
are
I
things?
Like that you said as the motivator, you.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, I really respect you because watching you and being a fan of yours, I liked that you let everybody just kind of be quiet for a little bit and you just listen to everyone. I think that was a wise move because part of inspiration is watching someone put together their plan of action. And I love how you did that because you just took the time to listen to people. That's what they really needed. I don't know that more words were needed. I think more listening was needed. And I still think that's the case.
Oh, absolutely is the case. Absolutely is the case. So as you grow your business, what do you think are the new quote normals for what Miracle does now? What are the new normals going forward, and any future pivots do you see coming down the road? I'm dragging again, I can tell.
The new normals. Okay. Then sorry about that, a little technical glitch. The new normals, when we look at corporate training and we look at helping teams build themselves, it's always thought that, we're going to be in corporations and bigger entities. Now it's, how do you keep remote workers engaged? How do they feel a part of the team? How are they valued? So it's creativity. And that's what we've always brought to the table, whether it's marketing, public relations, or training. Being creative on how do we engage people when they're working at home? How do we keep people healthy? How do we find the best in this situation? Like, I'm just going to share my situation. Being home, I don't have a commute. I can get out and exercise more. I'm cooking and doing more at home. When we used to go out to eat with clients, we're not really doing that, right? So it's living a healthier lifestyle. And I think we can capitalize off of those opportunities if we listen for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's shift into you and your journey to get to this massive company that you had. During the growth of your company, early years, and maybe even now, were there moments and times where you felt like, you know what, I'm about to pull this whole plug and this computer and chuck it out the window because this is not working for me anymore? You ever had those kind of moments?
Oh, definitely. 2007, 2008, we had 12 full-time people working for Miracle Resources. They were W-2s. So, payroll's coming around, and we had, again, at the time, 90% of our clients were nonprofit. And they were losing their grants. They didn't do anything wrong, but they weren't able to pay. And, I have to make payroll on the 15th and the 30th. And Mark, I'm going to tell you, I went to the park. I was driving and I just pulled into the park and I just cried. 2007, 2008. I'll never forget that day. I was like, I've got to find the money to make payroll. And our clients, even though we did great work, they couldn't pay. So, are you going to rob a bank? No. What you got to do is you got to be smart and you got to figure out, okay, how can I make sure I pay? I paid everybody. I got through it. But I moved the company to a 1099 model. And the reason why was because I wanted to put people in the right places, and I didn't really need a full-time staff. I needed a lot of people that were available for projects. So yeah, I definitely went in the park and cried and thought, how am I going to do this? Then the second time that I thought I was going to chuck it was about the trademark, which you can see behind me. Fighting for the name Miracle Resources is not easy. And the reason that we won, we had a good lawyer. I had also already established miracleresources.com. And many people said, well, didn't it help it was your last name? No, it didn't. So Miracle Resources as a trademark was quite a fight. And there were times I thought, well, maybe I'll call it Miracle Resources Marketing or something like that. I'm glad we fought for it because now we have 3 brands under it. And we have hundreds of people who do freelance work for us. And I'm glad for the fight, but it was a time that I thought, I don't know if I want to continue the fight. So I think every entrepreneur has those moments, and you need a good support network around you. You do need good lawyers. You do need staff that tell you the truth. And I'm lucky because the people on our team at Miracle Resources, they tell me the truth. And I need to hear it. So just because I have the title of CEO doesn't mean that it's all my ideas. We pulled together as a team, and that's what keeps you going. That to me is payday, when somebody else succeeds and it's like, oh yeah, we did it. That's success.
Absolutely. And now, what made it such a difficult fight? Is it the Mr.? Is it the period? What about that emblem logo was so difficult?
Well, it's really because of Miracle. When it comes to the name itself, Miracle Resources, Miracle Resources can be, there is a forest company, there is a forestry company, there's a textile company, there's a gentleman who has phones. There were people who were not using it the way that I use it, but it was more the name rather than the logo itself, because Miracle can be so many things. Miracle Resources could be, if, I mean, you know it as me, and you know it as marketing, PR, and training, but Miracle Resources and the name itself, Miracle, you know, I didn't trademark the name Miracle. That would be impossible, but Miracle Resources we own.
Okay, I see. I get that. And that is funny. You know, it is your last name. Oh, she doesn't have made it. No, no, that's really her last name is Miracle. That is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, you're dealing with, you know, those moments of uncertainty of making payroll, the growth of the company. What are you telling yourself, number one, to get over and how to move forward? And B, what are you telling other entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and whatever? What are you telling them to do to move forward?
I love that question. It's an excellent question, and thank you so much for it. You know, 2007, 2008, when I would talk about it, you know, and talk about those years, people understood how horrific things were and how your clients didn't have money to pay you, even though you did work. So moving the model to 1099s kept better control of our finances. And we don't have payroll problems anymore because we, again, are only working with people as 1099s. Now, the pandemic, since 2020, I know so many companies that they can't make payroll. They have to furlough employees. I'm a business model that can use 1099s. That makes sense for Miracle Resources. But for those people who don't want to lose their employees, I want to tell you some grit stories. There are stories of working with your vendors and saying, can I go on a payment plan? There are stories of, you know, talking to your employees about how they can work. There are stories of businesses that have moved and now are selling new products and doing new product lines. That to me is grit. That means you don't give up. You just change direction, find new revenue streams. And for me, the training ground to get ready for this pandemic, you know, we all found out, I had some inklings in January and February just by what I was reading. So I moved everything online, bought new computers, put in a home studio. So when March 10th happened, I was ready because I had been reading and kind of listening and thinking, what's going to happen next? But for a lot of people, it was that slam dunk moment where, oh my gosh, everything's changed. So you had to move quickly. For a lot of us, 2007, 2008, we kind of learned, okay, you need to have some savings. You need to, like, fiscally, Miracle Resources is in an excellent shape because we made investments in 2009 through 2019 to prepare in case anything happened. And that's grit, everybody. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be sustainable. And that means that you need to have those emergency funds in case something happens. So, Mark, I think honestly, as much as I hated 2007 and 2008, I think it really made me learn. And that's when I got my MBA as well. So I changed the model of the company so we could be sustainable and weather the storm. But it's tough. I know it's tough.
It's absolutely tough. And I commend every solopreneur, entrepreneur, business who flip the script to try to survive. I mean, you've got, for instance, Amazon, right? Amazon Flex. I deliver Amazon Flex is one of the revenue streams I have. I love to drive. It was a great hustle. Well, during pandemic, it was my out of the house. Early pandemic, I would drive. There was nobody on the road. It was amazing. Then you had Uber, Uber, who was mainly into moving people and some food, and buying Grubhub, whatever. They've actually pivoted too and started adding boxes to try to go get some of that B2B business. And so you watch all the major companies just like flip over and get at it and go, and you're sitting there, well, what should I do? What should I do? Do something. Do something. Everybody was starting to work more into their passion. And I talked about it in one of my podcasts. I actually found out, Katherine, during that time frame, I was actually more productive in my speaking business when I couldn't go anywhere to do what I need to do. More product came out, more programs came out, more speaking opportunities were coming available. How did you do that? I sat here, was on news channels and all that kind of stuff because I was here and nothing else I could do. So you talk about the focus and the hustle of it all. Now you get turned in because we're usually involved in so many things, and some of it is not good for us. And what I did find, how amazingly quiet I became in my mind. Like all that extra stuff, all the extra meetings, all the extra ripping and running I do was like not necessary. And well, I might as well do something. And out of that came a lot of other things I do now. So that is one of the things about the 20 coming out of the COVID, which you talked about earlier on my podcast, the Off the Bench Live, was get your skill set together. What is it that you're working on? Because you should not come out of this as we went in, whatever out of this looks like, because now you're reinventing yourself. People have gone back to hobbies. They've gone back to things and have more time at home. I don't know about you over there in Ohio. I used to walk. The usual people be outside, the ladies with the dog, 1, 2, 3. It was crowded on the sidewalk, whole families walking together and this, that, and the third. And it's already changing a little bit. They're holding on because life is kind of moving. But that time, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing during that time, what was going on.
And I think we're going to look back on this, and I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot. I am a list person. I'm an organizer person. So in March, I made this kind of bucket list for everything I wanted to do and get done during this time. So when COVID was over, which I cannot wait, and I'm going to celebrate like crazy, but I had this stuff done. And it was stuff like put in a home studio, rebrand the podcast. I'm writing my 5th book right now, just like all this stuff. But there was home stuff too. Like Craig and I have been doing all kinds of home projects and stuff. And, there was just like a list of things. And I think, honestly, that list kept me going because I had to think about, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? But Mark, I love what you said about how we got quiet and how we got to know our neighbors and how we went out walking. I think we're going to be talking about these things. I think we're going to have people ask us, what did you do in 2020? Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to tell you something silly. Craig and I wanted exercise. We started playing badminton. I hadn't played badminton since I was 5 years old, right? But, we just did different stuff, and it was really good because you had to think to yourself, all right, what am I going to do? I got to keep active. I got to keep doing stuff. But Mark, I do think we're going to learn from what you said, the rip and run, because you and I are like that. We rip and run. We're going to meetings. We're doing all this stuff. Mm-hmm. There is some stuff, guys, I'm not putting back in. I'm not going to go to 13 meetings a day. I'm going to do 16 Zooms because I don't have the commute, right? And I can see more people. I can help more people. But I'm going to make sure that I get exercise as part of my day. I'm going to make sure that I'm not going out to eat as much. I'm not going to go back to that. I'm really not. I've gotten healthier, lost some weight. And, I just think there's stuff from this pandemic that we've got to look at and say, okay, this is what I'm going to keep from what I learned. And this is what I'm going to go back to. But I don't think we're going to go back to everything. I really don't. I think people are going to change some ways they've done things because you can be smarter in how we work.
Oh, absolutely. And need to be, as I like to say, different and better. Everybody say better than when we started. So what is it? Let me ask you this. So as you prepare to come out of COVID or move on in our adjustments, what is it that you feel like Miracle Resources is going to be better positioned to do than before? Take the Zoom calls away, see more people. What do you think you'll be better positioned to do than before COVID?
I think we're going to be stronger as we are now in the platforms. That, it is much easier to help a team quickly with the training than trying to set up something, get a venue, get a location. We're more adaptable. We can get there quicker. But I want to add something fun for your listeners. I think 2020, when it's over and we're done with COVID, I think it's going to be like the roaring 20s back in the 1920s. I think people are going to be out. We're going to be at parties. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see people. I cannot wait to hug people. I can't wait to go out and have fun. I think we're going to be a really fun society once we get through all of this, 2021. Mm-hmm. But I think that we're all better and stronger. As much as people complain about having to be on so many Zooms and they complain about virtual learning, we've learned it, we've done it, we know we can do it. Now, a lot of people, they don't want to go back to it, they want to go back to face-to-face, but there are still going to be a ton of people who say, look, this was easy, we know how to do it, we're going to keep doing it. And I can reach more people and I can do more meetings, just like you said.
So we're better and we're stronger, sadly, because of this time. I mean, I never want to be the person who looks at 2020 just from a business perspective. We have lost so many lives in our country. We have such struggle, and we've got to work together. At the end of the day, we're coming up on a big vote, but it's much more of who are we as a culture. I'm always going to be the person who we need to listen to each other, observe each other. We need to be equitable. We need to build a culture of success and respect with each other, and we need to help each other and get stronger. So this time we got to learn from it so we can be better as a society.
Absolutely. You mean like 3 things that drive you? What are top three things that drive Katherine Miracle to do Katherine Miracle Resources? What is it that you do?
Okay. Number one, all the way, if someone succeeds that I've been helping. So I want to talk about it so you guys can all, this happens for you every day, but I want you to celebrate it with me more. I want you to celebrate when this happens for you. So I have a client who just aced a job interview because I helped them with their presentation. Many companies will do a Zoom interview like this, and that's your job interview. Well, you need to practice that. You need to have a coach. So I help them. And when I get that text that says, I got the second interview, I mean, that's my payday, man. Like, I love that. And I know you do too, Mark. I think that's the motivator. It's helping someone succeed and helping them navigate. Then the second thing, and this has to do with the social revolution, when I can use my influence to help someone else. Do you remember when I told you the story about, as a female business owner, I couldn't get into certain corporations and a male mentor helped me get in? Now I'm finding I'm the one who can help someone get in. And then the third thing is really literally helping someone find their voice. I do work with a ton of people pleasers who say, how do I get out of this? And I'm a reformed people pleaser. When I have someone, I work with someone and they get it, they wake up to their own value, that's payday. Because again, we have to value ourselves or no one else will value us.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Nice. So I'm going to recap. This is what I heard you to say. Number one, you draw your strength from success of others. 2, using your influence to help others. And 3, helping others find their voice. Is that about right?
Yeah, you're good.
Well, this is basically what you've been doing, is like helping others, that you draw your source and strength from helping others. That is awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned a book. You try to slide that in there, and then you said, you mentioned 5 books. But what's the name of your current book, and where can we find that book?
I'm going to share a screen if that's okay with you.
All right.
So I want to share a screen so you guys understand the power of why I want to share this with you. You gotta let me share it, Mark. So on the share the screen, it's okay. It disabled it. There we go. Thank you so much. Okay, very good. So I am going to share. Oh, that's yours. Okay, that's your screen. So all you got to do is let multiple participants share, and then I'll be able to share. Look at all the cool stuff you got on your screen. I love it. I love it. So see where it says multiple? So I just want to share with you guys, as we're getting this set up, one of the things I believe is each one of us needs a campaign. And what is a campaign? A campaign is the ability to know your line in the sand. What is your yes and what is your no? And we teach this when we do strategic personal branding. We talk very much about how, I don't think it's going to happen, Mark.
I don't see a multiple share. Yeah, I don't see a multiple share.
That's okay. That's all right. I can talk it through. So when you have a campaign of how you are and how you work with others, mine is respect myself, because again, I told you I'm a reformed people pleaser. And mine is also respect others. If I'm going to respect other people, that means I have to listen to them and I have to understand them. So my 4th book, the new book, is called Inquisitive Culture, and it helps you survive today's workplace and change it. So workplace culture that's scary and horrible, if you've experienced it, you're the person who's crying on your way into work and crying on your way home from work, you can have the ability to change it. And through this book, we've used case studies of the 100,000 professionals we've trained that have written to us, and we provided resources. We share their stories because they let us share the stories in the book. So for everybody listening, if you're going through dealing with difficult coworkers, if there's a toxic culture at your workplace, don't give up. This book has the answers. You know how to find me. My name's Katherine Miracle. I'm really easy. If you Google me, reach out and I can help you. Because with training, we can change those cultures that are toxic to respectful and successful workplaces. That's what we've done over 17 years. So the book Inquisitive Culture is an important book for us. I do want to say to you, Mark, you can't suffer through this. A lot of people, it hurts their mental health, it hurts their physical health when they go to work and they hate their job. Now, Mark, knowing you and the two of us, we love our job, and that's awesome. That doesn't mean it's not difficult in some days.
Right.
But when you walk into a culture that's toxic, you can feel it. Mark and I, as trainers, we can go in and we can feel it and we can see it. But we're not just going to leave it there. We're going to help you get through that. And that means working with the entire team. So I just want to share that with you, Mark. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Yes, when it comes out, I need to do something with that. I have a lot of people on with books and whatnot. And while you were talking about your book, it kind of landed on me. I think I'm gonna have a project for people with books to participate and collaborate on my podcast or whatever. And when I get it hammered out, I'm gonna hit you back because I think there's something in there that I need to get at as far as teaching and helping other people. It's what I do. So I appreciate that.
And I love how you're thinking, Mark. I love it. And I want to sweeten the deal. So the first person who sees this that writes to you, I need their address and I will send them the book. So you're going to be a winner. If you write to Mark and say, hey, I saw this crazy Katherine Miracle lady, I want her book. You've got it.
Well, I appreciate
that. First person who writes in, you've got it. And it's called Inquisitive Culture.
Inquisitive Culture. All right, cool. So we're wrapping this down. Any parting shots that you want to leave with people you've been motivating and talking about through the whole podcast, the whole interview? What else would you like to say to the listeners, the viewers on this platform to hear your heart one more time before we wrap down?
I just want to say, no matter what you're going through, ask the experts. I want you to know, yes, my company and the trainers, we're experts and we'll help you. Mark's an expert. Reach out for help. If you're coming home and you're telling your spouse 27 stories, okay, of how bad work is, it's not going to change. You need to go to somebody who actually deals with this. And for some companies, it's the HR professional. For others, if you don't have someone, it may be a consultant or success coach. But this isn't something that you can let go. If you aren't happy and you're miserable, yes, I understand. I've had jobs that I didn't love that I had to do till I made the money to get the next job. But workplace cultures can change. You don't have to be the CEO to change it. So reach out. I do a thing, Mark, called Mocktails and Cocktails. It's 15 minutes with me, totally free. I'm having a mocktail. You can have a cocktail. You can tell me what's going on. It's confidential. I can provide some resources. But those 15-minute calls, Mark, I've been doing a ton of them because guess what? Stop suffering, everybody. You're going to pay a horrible price, for your health and your mental health unless this gets taken care of. Okay. So don't wait, ask an expert, and that might be Mark, that might be me, that might be your HR person, but don't suffer. It's not wise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katherine, for coming on and sharing your heart and your journey and your hustle and grit with us. And your company is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, she has a catalog of courses that is beyond collegiate level. I don't know. It's like course 701. I mean, she just boom, boom, boom. I was like, how in the world did you create all this content? But she delivers it all, and her company delivers it all well. I've seen it in action. So thank you again for coming on. And to everybody listening out there, hey, let's remember this: success does not need a cosigner. There's a book that says so, but it does demand hustle and grit. I'll talk to you later.